That's 5:05. I think we're probably good to start. So not a large crowd. So I'm counting on personalized questions. Then, okay. All right. Then let's kick things off. First of all, hello to all, and welcome to today's webinar about employee satisfaction. My name is Kristaps, and I work with Scandivab in the HR department. And my work tasks are primarily connected with maintaining and improving employee growth, development, and well-being. Now, I realize that this might seem like an odd time to speak about employee satisfaction in general, and I also gave it some thought whether it should be done right now, with all the current major events going on, and a lot of companies actually having to cut back on employee-related expense. But this, at the same time, I figured that this is actually the perfect time for us to take a step back and to reflect and to see what are our practices, how can we further improve ourselves and our adaptability for when all of this passes, we are stronger and in a better position to actually deal with things. And essentially every crisis also provides a learning opportunity. Oh, ciao, Heavy. Oh, sorry about that. What happened? What did I do? I am not a master Zoomer. All right, we're back on it. Okay, so today in this webinar, I'll tell you about some of the empirical understandings on employee satisfaction and what it actually consists of. I'll tell you a little about some of the insights on how to work meaningfully on employee satisfaction, as I have termed it here. But please note that the satisfaction as term will be used quite broadly, and it will also include elements of engagement, because my goal today is to show some of the kind of practical methods for addressing and improving of situations of real employees in real time. And you could say that this is about making the working relationship more meaningful, so that it brings more benefit to the company and to the person involved. So I'll keep it a mix of theory and practice of what I have seen work while in Scandinavia. And lastly, I will also share some insights about priorities and employee satisfaction during situations such as right now, okay? And just a disclaimer before we go further, I would like to remark that there are, of course, limitations to everything I say. There is no one solution fits all need. And if you're looking for a holy grail of the 5 must-do things to ensure absolute employee satisfaction in each and every case, I won't be able to give you one, because I don't think one like that exists. But if any of the things I say do sound interesting, or you want to learn more, or just have a chat about it, drop me a line afterwards, okay? So, all right, let's kick things off. Before I dive into my narrative, I'd like to invite you to take a moment to reflect a bit about a very simple topic, essentially. So, your worst employment experience ever, okay? I'll give you a couple of moments to just remember what it was. And what I would like you to focus on is what is it that actually, subjectively made it the worst experience for you. Just take a couple of moments to have a think, and we'll carry on from there, okay? Okay, I hope that you get at least some kind of picture there in your mind, and I can share mine with you, okay? So for a moment in time, I got employed as a shop assistant in a hardware store. I think I managed to last for about nearly a year before we had to end the relationship. Without sugarcoating, essentially, I was laid off. simply because I really wasn't doing that well, nor was I enjoying it. I still remember waking up many mornings with that feeling that I was trading my life away for an hourly wage, and I really felt that I had to go to work, not that I wanted to. Now, the funny thing in this is that I was not the only employee in that store. There were two other guys there with me, and without them knowing this, they've actually made for excellent comparison points. Because if we look at it hierarchically, I was at the very bottom. I was not very good at it, clearly, and I wasn't enjoying it very much. Then there was another guy. He was good at it. He had all the trade knowledge, but he wasn't enjoying it at all. And he was constantly kind of giving hints that he doesn't like it, or this is bad, or that is bad. But there was no real intention to change anything. It's just that, he didn't like it. And then the third example, there was a guy who both had the knowledge and he enjoyed it very much. I distinctly remember him saying at some point that this job was easy money for him because he did what he liked, and it wasn't that hard at all. And that created a very large dissonance for me because there I was dreading coming to work every morning, and the question then is, what was the difference? Because clearly it's not the job itself. We were doing the same thing. We were in the same premises, doing the same tasks, getting the same pay, but the extent to which we were satisfied with what we're doing was, all over the place. And this is kind of like a shout out to all of my exes. I can finally say this on a public space that it was not you, it was me all along. Because what happens is, and this is a bit of theory coming in, that oftentimes job satisfaction is not directly caused by the job itself, but is a result of our perceptions of it. Here I've put the theoretical model by Weiss, which this is not very new, but it still holds true, which lists three components of job satisfaction. So on one hand, we have our own evaluations of our job, and you can think of that as a comparative dimension when, compared to your expectations of other jobs you've done, or previous job, or are the growth opportunities better, you think, or worse than comparing to something else? Then the second bit is our beliefs about our job. So what do we actually believe? Is this a dead-end job, or is this a good job for me? Is it interesting? Is it boring? And we also operate from that. And then thirdly, what's also very important is our affective experiences on the job. And affective in human language means how we feel emotionally on the job. So, if I go to job and I feel mostly irritated, or that depressed, or do I feel calm and joyful, that will have a vast impact on our satisfaction. So there essentially has been a lot of research from business and from science on job satisfaction as a construct, because for a very long time there was a very prevalent belief that by increasing job satisfaction we will get better performance. In hindsight, that has not been true directly, but we'll see later on that there are things that we have learned from this and that we have implemented from this and that are really working really good. The quintessence of what I'm trying to convey is that it is not the job itself, but one step deeper, you have to look at our interpretations of our job, and those are really the things that make it or break it, essentially, for this. Okay, so let's move on. Another reason, like why does it matter? Why talk about this at all? And the reason we want to work on satisfaction and related factors is because there is a lot of evidence from business, from science, that job satisfaction is connected to things like turnover, retention, absenteeism, counterproductive behavior from the company perspective. And these are all essentially related to performance as well, just not directly. And from the employee perspective, it is connected to things like well-being or life satisfaction, and to extent to mental health as well. And these are once more things that are gathering momentum currently, are becoming ever more important from employee perspective. So yeah, and as mentioned, unfortunately, Holy Grail performance cannot have direct direct influence on satisfaction. So there is that. But to put it in perspective, I suppose what I'm trying to say is that it's not so simple. To put it in perspective, I drew this graph of the major factors conceptually that contribute and influence the satisfaction dimension. And my point here is that since satisfaction comes from our interpretations, it is important to understand how those interpretations come to be. And as to all coins, there are at least two sides here. We can distinguish the employee and the company side. And from the employees, there are, you can see that we all have our affective dispositions, our values, needs, goals, our personality traits, and behavioral models that we are used to. And of course, you have the other side, which is the company side. Company as well has its own goals, it has its own culture and values and behavioral models. And I believe that it is really this level conceptually where we have to look for answers to work to increase things around employee satisfaction, because we cannot work on that superficial level with satisfaction as being something by itself. Yeah, okay, and we can look at different things essentially. Whilst we cannot do direct influence on the satisfaction, we can look, for example, on the alignment between personal goals and company goals, and see if they are in alignment at all. Maybe they're vastly disconnected. So what kind of satisfaction can there be, and what kind of performance can there be? Then we can also look at individual's own affective dispositions. Is he usually more the serious or lighthearted type, and does working content or environment in any way promote positive emotionality for him, and stuff like that. And these are just some of the conceptual examples, and there are many more factors in play. And of course, you have to take into account business models, culture, and other things when making things like this. And for example, like if you're a high employee turnover business, like a fast food chain or something similar, seeking value and goal alignment, fulfillment might not be worth the effort for you as a business. But then it begs the inquiry first. So find out what are those things. And I strongly believe that this is the level where we have to kind of start working and approaching these things. To give you another example, one of the very clearly known, researched and business as well proven thing that positively connects with employee performance is positive affectivity, or as I mentioned already, feeling good on the job. That guy that was really good in the hardware store. Essentially, positive emotionality has been clearly shown to be connected to personal well-being, to productivity, and to long-term success. And I think one of the core questions for a company is, as an HR department or a business owner, what are some of the tools, approaches, methods at our disposal to increase that positive affect of our employees, or how do we help our employees feel better about doing their job? For example, in Scandinavia, one of such methods at our disposal, what we work with is goal orientation, because there's also clear evidence that personally significant goal-oriented work is directly connected to positive emotional states and positive affectivity. Hence, so yeah, because we feel better and are more productive when we do things that we enjoy. And essentially, by empowering your employees to strive for goals that have meaning for them, we can help increase their affective states and, in result, also the satisfaction then. Here you can see an example of a plan for working on employee goal behavior, amongst other things, on a timescale. So what we do in Scandinavia is that we have a structured path for each employee to ensure a feedback loop and also to keep creating positive goal striving. As you can see on the timescales, when the employee just joins, we have a catch-up system for the first 6 months. Yeah, those are months, by the way, the increment is a month. And what we do there is there are small meetings that are really meant to enliven the concept of goal setting and goal striving in a positive environment, and to come up with best methods for doing it. And after that first half a year, we'll have larger time gaps, but we still have one-on-one sessions once every 6 months where we gather feedback on the progress and experience so far, and then work on setting achievable goals for the next half year and next half year and next half year. And the level at which we work here is self-determination, in which the person actually is responsible for his or her own goals, because personally relevant goals, once again, have a far higher follow-through rate than arbitrarily set ones to begin with. And this kind of process also helps to increase the perceived autonomy in a workplace, and it encourages responsibility and empowerment, because you are responsible for where your working life is going. And these are all things that are connected with how we will interpret and evaluate our job experience. And hence, once again, this is another thing that contributes to our satisfaction with our work. And does that make sense? I hope it does. Then on a flip side, you could be asking, okay, but Kristaps, are you saying that all we have to do as a company is enable the people to strive for their goals, and they will be satisfied completely? And my answer is, of course, that the picture is larger than that, but I can't share everything with you. So I'll just show you some of the things that we also do on the side in Scandinavia that are really important, in my opinion, for creating and maintaining that employee satisfaction. And for the sake of making it more simple and easily followable, I've split the action steps by employee lifecycle phases. And the first phase of meaningful employee satisfaction actually already starts in the attraction stage, when you're looking for your potential employee, somewhat leaning on the ideas of fit. When attracting the potential employee, you essentially have a chance to freely create and communicate what your company is on a level of values, behaviors, goals, and culture, which is something that you can, already do, that will help attract the right kind of crowd to your doorstep. And this is no small thing. One of the things that we practice as a company is open doors events and open doors policy, hence, where anyone who is interested in the company can come and have a look at who we are. What we will do is we will host these events twice monthly at least, if not more often, where people get to come. They can come through the office on a guided tour. They get a chance to firsthand experience what the actual office is like, what the actual culture is like. They get to create real impressions, ask their questions that they have or want to find out. And at the same time, you as a company uh, get to see what are the values and interests and needs of those who are already interested in you. So that helps you fine tune your message. And I suppose the great thing about it is also that you can look at the counter thing as well. So if somebody comes around and is really not buying what you're selling, he will not apply probably, or he will look for another place. And that again helps you raise the average job satisfaction of your employees, because the people who really shouldn't be in your company will just not pursue. So it is a wonderful opportunity to create realistic impressions, which in turn will help the individuals then make more of a concise and informed decision when pressing that apply button. Um, yeah, and I see that a lot of companies are actually starting to practice the regular open doors policy more and more, because I think we're all slowly getting to the point where we're understanding that compared to when comparing seeing something in live with a job ad text saying comfy cozy office in the heart of Riga, uh, you realize that it is not absolutely the same thing, and the effects are also vastly different. So let's say that we have attracted the person we wanted to, and he has successfully passed our entry criteria and joins. What do we do then? So next, logically, is onboarding. And depending on the company, it can be either just a guided tour through the office and a formal pat on the back, or it can be a impactful process that introduces you to the workflow of the company, the culture, and helps you find your place and to acclimate. And Scandinavia, to help the new employees adapt more easily to their new working lives, we have several processes in place. Amongst other things, we have a special digital onboarding card game, which contains a set amount of game-like tasks, such as go find out what are the coolest events that have happened, or go play ping pong with a colleague, or find out what kind of bonuses we have. And what this does essentially is that it creates a framework where the new employee has a safe reason to approach somebody, and that in turn helps to adapt and start identifying with the company sooner. And this is vital because we tend to form our opinions and evaluations very fast initially, and then we are reluctant to change them. So having a solid, good first impression positively adds to the at least medium term employee satisfaction as well. And if you need to doubt that, then just think of a time when you tried something edible and you really didn't like the taste, and were you really looking forward ever again to trying that same thing again? And if you were, then you're a minority in that action, at least. Okay, so let's say we have onboarded the person, we have helped him get in touch with our goals and values and behavioral models. But most of the work on satisfaction actually logically happens in this phase, where the person is already working and is an active employee. Uh, Typically, what I understand by maintaining is this is everything 6 months plus in the company. This is where most of the goal setting and goal orientation processes will happen. And this is where we work together to come up with meaningful growth plans for each person within possibility, of course. And what we do is we will still have these one-on-one meetings and discuss these personally driven goals, create time-bounded and repetitive system where we can strive for them. And it allows us to look at the road so far, look at the next steps, and helps create a structure where the employee can strive for what he actually wants to, and that again, positive affectivity and satisfaction. Um, I emphasize positive affectivity and emotionality all the time. And another cool thing that we have is actually a really nice tool that helps us gather effortless performance feedback and that emotional encouragement for each employee by other employees is an app called Crowd Bonus. And amongst other things, it is the way Scandi distributes its bonuses. And the way it works is that each month, each employee gets a fixed sum of funds by the company, which he can freely distribute to whomever has helped him or been good to him or whatever, and to attach a message of thank you or encouragement or similar of his choice. What this does is that it provides a relatively unbiased feedback on your performance or personality or actions most of the time from those around you, as people are generally unlikely to express their thanks to you if you haven't done anything for them, right? Why would you? Even sometimes we get this idea about if there is insider bias, right? So you're more likely to reward people who are closer to you. But then again, still that holds meaning because you're obviously working well with those people for them to want to reward you. So I think that's a very neat way of looking at it as well. And yeah, that's probably enough about crowd bonus. Okay. So culture as a point is culture creation and work content. And since we know that our demographic, for example, within the company is approximately 20 plus years, but most of the people are within that 20 to 30 range, we have taken the chance to custom tailor our culture and the contents of it to that group. So we will tailor culture which prefers more physical outgoing stuff when compared to more formal or kind of laid back culture. And this is once again also something, if you've already kind of attracted the right candidate by those traits and you're maintaining, and that culture is a good fit for the person that will once more be a bonus to that spectrum of satisfaction. So to summarize what I was saying previously, essentially we address employee satisfaction indirectly because there's no real functional way, at least that I know of, to go just straight ahead and say, yes, we improve employee satisfaction. You improve the things that make up the employee satisfaction, and in most cases, that will be the perceptions. But to understand the perceptions, you have to understand what are they made of, and you work with encouraging self-directed, goal-oriented behaviors by creating personal responsibility, autonomy, empowerment, and positive feedback. And as promised, as you can see the slide, there was a part in there where I said that I will also tell a bit about what are the priorities in terms of employee satisfaction in crisis. I think it is a very tricky subject because employee satisfaction usually is not the priority in a crisis situation, because the priority is obviously the survival of the business. But there are factors that can contribute positively to a lessening, I suppose, of employee satisfaction, or that can help mitigate the risk of extremely high turnovers or something. And should you want to look for more information, I'm more than certain that you will find very much and very good stuff out there. And if you have anything good on this as well, feel free to let me know, because I'm not the absolute authority, nor am I perfect in my knowledge. But I have taken the liberty to outline three main points. First of all, from what I've seen and what I've experienced, I feel like people have a horrible allergy towards a state of uncertainty. And in order to maintain basic functions of a company, one of the core responsibilities of management then is to provide clear, structured, actionable information during such times. For example, if we are firing everyone, then how are we doing this? When? How is it going to happen exactly? And what is each person to do? If we're not firing anybody, what are the steps that we take as a company? What are the specific implications on each of us? Because most of the time, we operate already on a level of me and what's in it for me, and that is especially true when we feel vulnerable, like in a moment of crisis. And same as with growth and change, it is easier to once again operate on a level of specific necessitated behaviors instead of abstract constructs. So that refers to the clarity. You can't say we have to be. Well, you can't do anything, of course, but it is more beneficial to address concrete and specific behaviors that you need people to do, such as we need you to pull some overtime, or I don't know, we need you to do halftime, instead of saying something abstract like we might need some extra effort, because it realistically means nothing and it is left up to interpretation, and that once again creates distress, uncertainty, and we go downwards negative spiral. Another key aspect here is to maintain the momentum of communications, I suppose. Because what happens is you have settled down the initial conundrum, right? You've talked your way through it. People understand. So these are the steps that we will take. And what is important is then to follow up and to have a structure of informed progress. I suppose it could be weekly updates, or catch-up calls, or newsletters, or how are we doing right now. And these have to be fairly regular in terms of time, because once they're I think that's one of the things with crisis, is that we are intolerant of long periods of uncertainty, so it has to be fairly fluent in how it happens. Another key thing then is working towards satisfying base needs of your employees, because bonuses and other things might be and are, of course, important in normal times. But you are more likely to retain good employees if they see that under current stressful and tiring circumstances, you as a company are working to help them meet their basic needs, and are in touch with the reality of what those needs actually are. And I suppose that's about leveling to an extent. And finally, from HR perspective, this is more of a personal opinion probably, but this is the perfect time to actually understand that all tools are merely tools, and to start understanding the importance of being human. What I'm getting at is that now more than ever before, in normal running, the employees might really appreciate, and that might contribute in turn to the loyalty to organization, that you have a human concern for them, that you are interested in their well-being, in their how they adapt towards things. Are they okay? Is this is what changes is this bringing for them? Are they managing? And I think it's the kind of small thing like that that goes an extremely long way. Of course, there are other things that you can do, and there are a lot of specific things, starting from helping organize their lives according to the different rhythm and whatnot. But that information is very available, and I will not kind of secondhand disclose it. That essentially brings me to an end for this webinar. Hope that I've made some sense. I suppose the key points that I was trying to convey today are that work satisfaction should be understood as a thing that gets created from multiple other things, and to meaningfully address it and to increase it, we have to understand what those factors are and address them. You can take different approaches and use different methods, one-on-one, applications, whatever really makes sense in your business situation. Second, that wherever possible, creating personally meaningful work goals and helping people achieve them and will definitely leave a positive impact on their well-being, on their satisfaction, and even their productivity. And my last point, and probably, is that in crisis, be human and try to understand what people actually need. Okay, that's it for the content. Thank you for listening. If you managed to get through all that, should you have any questions, I'll just check the chat window. It says nothing. All right. Any points of interest or something I conveyed vaguely or you want to learn more of, feel free to drop me a question. Please note also, I am I'm not really a webinar master yet, but it was very interesting. Let me know if there was anything useful that you got out of this. Okay, I don't see any questions. Exit last slide. Okay. The recording of the webinar will be available on the ScandiWeb webpage, by the way. So should you have the time, feel free to have a look at it later. I might have glossed over some things. A lot of it actually is way deeper and has way more information, but then satisfaction is a large construct. So if you want to have more info on any of these subfacets or how to approach it practically in your organization, let me know. This might be very fun. Okay, anyone else has any questions? Yes, if anyone still has any other questions, feel free to ask via email. Thank you so much for using your time to listen to me, and I hope that this has been useful.